Okay, Rivos here, and I actually wanted to look at this. Gonna take a look at the NightReign, more details from IGN and the Elden Ring NightReign game that's gonna be coming out in 2025. That looks like, I guess it's a co-op. I don't know what it is, another part of the story. So I want to hear what this is going to be about and how this is going to work. So I'm just going to, without further ado, we're going to play the video and see what it is.
From the discovery of sprawling subterranean other worlds to the startling second phases that completely turned the tables in so many of its boss fights, 2022's Elden Ring was a mesmerizing action RPG adventure that surprised players at every turn. Now, more than 2 years later,
I still ain't beat this game.
it appears that developer From Software isn't done with pulling the rug out from under the feet of its fan base just yet. With the surprise reveal of Elden Ring NightReign, a standalone co-op spin-off that takes the cautious dungeon crawls of Elden Ring and turbocharges them into propulsive slash and dash speedruns. After spending some 6 hours of hands-on time with this bold new spin on From
I thought they were just
Software's
making a co-op
formula, I can confirm that NightReign is shaping up to be something truly unique. If Elden Ring was one of 2022's biggest chart-topping hits, then NightReign would appear to be its dance floor-filling remix, chopped up, intensified in beats per minute, and designed to both excite fans of the original and broaden its appeal to the masses. Now, unfortunately, because it was such an early build of the game that I played, I wasn't able to capture any footage, even though it was running great on PlayStation 5. So I apologize for the generic footage I'll be using here, and also for my generic face. Anyway, here's how NightReign breaks down. Imagine stepping back into the opening area from the original game, only nothing in the landscape seems to be where you remember it. Also, there are 3 of you now, and everything seems to be happening at a much higher tempo. That's NightReign in a nutshell. You squad up with 2 other players at the start of each round, get dropped into a densely packed alternate reality chunk of Limgrave that has both its enemy types and structures randomly shuffled around at the beginning of each session, and it's up to you and your squad mates to build up from your lowly level 1 character status as fast as possible by harvesting runes and earning Destiny-style loot drops as you slash and dash through every enemy-filled camp that you come across. So, what's the big rush? Well, each session of NightReign
I mean, I don't know, you know, I think Elden Ring, how much more further can you push Dark Soul design and Dark Soul gameplay? I've always felt like they should just had a full-on co-op experience, but it's a rush. It sounds like Monster Hunter.
NightReign is structured as
I
a
don't
3-day
know.
cycle,
Like this part where it picks you up with one arm,
taking about 15 minutes to complete. At the start of the first day, you can pretty much pick any direction to plot your whirling path of destruction along, but as day approaches night, the space you can operate in narrows, and you're liable to be killed by acid-like rain should you find yourself caught for too long beyond the perimeter of the rapidly shrinking circle on the map, known as the Ring of Rain. In that regard, NightReign is a bit like Fortnite, only
I was about to say, why does it sound like a battle royale?
With more medieval forts and knights and considerably less TikTok dances. Once the Ring of Rain reaches its smallest diameter at the end of the day, a major boss fight is triggered. Like the rest of NightReign's enemies, these end-of-day bosses are always randomized, and during my repeat runs, I experienced clashes with familiar returning foes like a draconian tree sentinel, as well as some brand new nasties like the Centipede, a towering, twisting swarm of disgusting limbs, prone to detaching its body parts in an attempt to divide itself and conquer my crew. With the day 1 boss dealt with, day 2 begins and the Ring of Rain rescinds, allowing your squad to take a breath, regroup, and then resume ransacking the map for upgrades in preparation for the more challenging foes to come at the end of days 2 and 3. It's a structure that allows for a gradual build of tension.
What is the end game for this? And what about people like me? I'm solo. I don't really have anybody, but the people I know, they are not touching Elden Ring. So would that mean you be paired up with randos? Can you carry those randos and do the same? I'll listen.
before a palpable sense of accomplishment and release with each boss felled. Over time, my squad mates and I became a well-oiled machine as far as getting the balance right between beelining for churches to snatch up valuable HP flasks and taking down the more major overworld enemies like dragons and hippos in order to get maximum XP boosts for buck before the map was cast back into darkness. We were also able to eventually settle upon the best combination of heroes for our group. You see, NightReign doesn't feature the lengthy list of generic character classes that the original Elden Ring did. And players won't have to Google the difference between vague sounding archetypes like the Prisoner and Wretch when they first hop into play. Instead, NightReign offers 8 different heroes to choose from, each with very clearly identified strengths and weaknesses, in order to make it as easy to jump into as possible.
So this sounds, again, it sounds like Monster Hunter had weapons, but this kind of sounds like Monster Hunter, or this sounds like just straight up dungeons.
4 were playable in the preview build. Wilder is an all-rounder hero type with a good balance between speed and attack power. Guardian is a burly tank type with heavy attacks and increased damage resistance. Duchess is a nimble type with fast attacks and a killer quick-step ability. And Recluse is a mage type with ranged magical attacks. Additionally, each character features a unique skill and ultimate attack that both operate on cooldown timers. Wilder is able to use his hookshot skill to either reel in smaller enemies like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, or to quickly zip past the swinging arms of a major boss in order to sneak a few strikes in from behind. Guardian is able to conjure up a mini tornado to knock swarms of enemies off their feet, while Recluse can put a marker on an enemy so that every time that enemy is attacked, the damage is cycled boosts for her own HP.
Oh wow.
These unique abilities are all extremely useful in their own right, but finding ways to combine them with the special moves of your squad mates is key to surviving NightReign's toughest enemy encounters. One strategy that my squad grew to rely on quite heavily was to unleash a damaging ultimate attack on an enemy such as Guardian's swooping dive bomb, then immediately follow it up with Duchess's restage skill, which basically creates an instant replay of the last attack landed and allows you to double the total amount of damage inflicted. It's in finding killer combinations of moves such as these that the co-op focus of NightReign really shines.
This is either going to be a massive hit or a fail. I'm not sure how open people are going to be to this type of gameplay. I think it's, you know, cool to try to go the Monster Hunter / dungeon route, you know, with classes and builds. And with Elden Ring, I just feel like if that's the case, you could do this with a, I don't know, this thing where the bubble is shrinking. It sounds like you're piecing too many things together from different, you know, things. You got that from Battle Royales. Of course, Fortnite was the first one of the first ones. I think PUBG was really one of the first ones, but the bubble is shrinking, and then the end of the day, which is, and you got a Russian. I need to see more.
And after multiple failed attempts, my squad was finally able to progress through to the 3rd day of the cycle, which climaxed in a fight against a snarling Cerberus-like beast called Gladius, which forced my team to coordinate and queue up skills and ultimate attacks with painstaking precision in order to overcome it. Gladius is,
if you got some friends who's got the time and down with this sounds amazing.
It's just the first of 8.
This sounds like Death to Pugs.
Major bosses to take down in NightReign,
only
each with
8?
their own 3-day cycle leading up to them. In addition to the randomization of enemy types and structures, further wrinkles will be introduced into each boss cycle, such as live volcanoes and forests full of rot, in an effort to prevent the landscape from ever growing too predictable. That's along with random events like meteor strikes, swarms of giant ants to fend off, and the surprise invasion of powerful tormentors like Margit the Fell Omen in an attempt to impede your progress. In addition to the
every time they fight a boss, I only see them fight I only see one person and nobody around him. That's
the approachability of its roster of playable characters, NightReign has polished up a lot of Elden Ring's more abrasive edges to make it a far more friction-free experience. A new wall jump move allows you to quickly hop up and over steep sections of the terrain, while the removal of any fall damage means you can lunge off cliffs or down dark holes without pausing to study your surroundings for safe platforms.
Oh wow.
You only need to walk near a site of grace to top up your health and flasks, and if you want to spend some runes to level up, you just button mash through pages of auto leveling that best suits the base traits of your chosen character. Rather than having to agonize over whether you should allocate a point to faith or dexterity, for example. It all gives each session the feeling of being shuttled along in an intense speed run, and you can get around even faster by using spectral hawks to vault across great distances of the map. Death is not necessarily the end in NightReign either. If you find yourself down, you have a near-death meter that appears above you, and your squadmates must attack you while you crawl along the ground until the meter is reduced and you can return to the fray.
Attack you?
It may sound slightly odd to basically kick a friend while they're down, but it's a system that works quite well. Particularly since you can use ranged attacks like magic or crossbows to revive a down squadmate from a distance without the risk of putting yourself in harm's way. Should all three of you be wiped out at once, it's the end of the session, and you must restart day one with everyone back at level 1. So you need to stay on your toes in order to keep the rest of your squad on their feet whenever possible. While there's no doubt that elements of it are inspired by the likes of Destiny and Diablo 4, it needs to be said that Elden Ring NightReign is not a live service game. Once you buy it, you get access to the complete package, and there are no battle passes or microtransactions to contend with. It can also be played in single player should you wish to stay offline, with enemy health pools that scale down so that it's not too overwhelming for solo players. Although, curiously, there are currently no plans to allow players to play in pairs. As someone who has sunk hundreds of hours into Elden
So wait, you could play either single or trio. That's stupid. Why would you just skip right over duos? That would be the easiest one to run, is duos. So you can just either play by yourself or you have to have a third person. Maybe I hope that's something that they can walk back or change, because most people can get another person. To get 2 other people, and then it's like you don't want to play with pugs. Okay, cool. You could, maybe you and your friends feel like they can do it, but you're gonna force them to get a pug if they. I don't. That seems like it's such an easy thing to just go to 2, rather than skipping and forcing the third. Anywho.
Elden Ring, both in the original 2022 game and this year's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, I can confidently say that From Software is onto something truly spectacular with NightReign.
Looks beautiful.
Cutting throats at breakneck speed with a pair of friends in tow has been a consistently exhilarating experience so far, and especially gratifying when you work together to topple its toughest bosses using each character's special abilities in tandem. Assuming the developers can throw enough randomized elements to keep each 3-day assault feeling fresh, then Elden Ring NightReign could well provide an exciting change of pace for existing fans and an enticingly accessible entry point for newcomers when it launches sometime in 2025. So, what do you think? Are you excited for Elden Ring NightReign, or do you prefer things slow and steady rather than rough and
I don't know. I seriously don't know if I would. Let him finish up what he's saying.
Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to read my full impressions and get your fix for all things Elden Ring NightReign on IGN.
Okay, so, my thoughts. I don't like speedruns. I think it's dumb that you can't do it in pairs. That was such an easy layup that they would have put that in pairs. It's 15 minutes. The circle's getting smaller. That I don't know how that's going to work in a game like this, putting like a battle royale type implementation in there. Like I said, this is going to be, and then the fact that it's 8 bosses, speed running, and you got 3 days. What I would say is I will definitely keep eyes on it. Um, I would definitely keep eyes on it, see where it goes, and then from there make the decision as far as because whether off the back it just doesn't sound like it's for me. You're forcing me. I might be able to get another, right? But you're forcing pucks. If you only got one, it's either you or you're dealing with two people. People are gonna have a problem with that. The speed running to 15 minutes, people are gonna have a problem with that. Some people don't like being on the time crunch. Um, I tend to hate timed missions, just in general. But that is me, and that is my preference. So in the comments down below, of course, what is your preference? Is this for you? Is this something that you can enjoy? You think this is something that From Software can pull off? Because this is very ambitious. To me, it is. I think they're just maxed out. I really think Elden Ring is their ceiling. And so now you're just going to have to kind of grow laterally and try different things. And I think multiplayer is the way. I just don't think this battle royale light type style is it. But you let me know what you feel. This is Revos, and I'm out.